selling is evil, sales is evil. Do you also believe that? Well, at the end of this video you will have learned the 5 myths of sales. Hi, I'm Peter and my intention is to everybody who wants to learn to sell, to help you to learn to sell. So the first myth is sales is evil. A majority of the people think that selling is evil, and they think of sellers, of people who are selling cars, who are talking smoothly, are dressed sharply, but in fact it isn't. Sales is actually a good thing, it's a great thing, because everybody is a seller. Yes, you are also a seller. Maybe you're not trained for it, maybe you're not paid for it, but you're also a seller. You're selling something. You're selling a vision to your people, you are selling a project towards your investors to get money in, and yes, you need to sell in order to attract new customers. Especially small business owners. Maybe they have a great product, but they need customers in order to grow their business. And that involves selling. And this is really important, that you change your belief system that selling is evil to selling is a good thing. Because otherwise your prospects will feel that you hate selling and that you don't feel comfortable. Another thing is that makes the perception that sales is evil is that good sales lie. No, they don't. Bad sales, they lie. I mean, if you lie as a salesperson, you will not earn the trust, and if you earn the trust, you will lose it, and you will never ever going to sell another thing, product or service to that customer. So lying is in fact a very bad thing. What is sales then? For me, the definition of sales is actually at the highest level a transfer of energy, of emotion between a buyer and a seller. So for me, selling is actually creating value between a seller towards a buyer. And that buyer, they have a problem, they have a need, they have a challenge, a pain. After a good conversation between the buyer and the seller, by asking relevant questions, there's a fit, and so the seller has created value towards the buyer, then you can indeed come to an agreement and sell something. And that's a good thing, because you're helping people by creating value. And therefore sales is actually a great thing. And I really believe that selling or sales is an essential skill for everybody. Even you who is thinking that selling is bad and not for you. Because whatever dream you want to accomplish, you will need to ask to people, you need to convince people, you need to motivate people, because you cannot achieve your dream by your own. You will always need other people. And yes, that's also selling. This is also selling. I'm actually giving you my time, my attention, my expertise for your attention in order that you would click on the like button and would even subscribe. The second myth, selling is just for the sales team. No, it isn't. When you are in an organization, everybody is selling. Everybody who is in contact with the customer. Is it finance? Is it HR? Is it the after sales? Is it the management, the CEO? Everybody. You are part of the product or service. And so you are actually going to have an impact on the perception of your customers. And that's also selling. Because at that time, at that moment, the value of the experience, and that experience is going to determine the value for that customer. And he's going to compare that value with the price that they are paying to you. If that value is higher than the price, they will be happy. If the perceived value is lower than the price, then they will not be happy. The third myth, selling is talking. Everybody thinks that good salespeople talk all the time. And they also think that a good seller is an extrovert person. But it isn't. All personalities can be good sellers. The real key is that the seller will ask relevant questions and gathers intelligence information of the buyer. And in that conversation, in that dialogue, the seller creates value for the buyer, whatever that means. And if enough value is created by the seller to the buyer is ready to close. So the seller is asking relevant questions, the buyer is responding to these questions, there's a conversation, and the seller is listening, is deep listening. He's really present and aware in that conversation. He's not thinking about his or her holidays or at home. No, he's really into the conversation, into the dialogue. And the buyer feels that. The buyer feels that the salesperson is present or aware or not, or is just there to collect money. And when a buyer feels that, non-verbally, then you will have a hard time closing the deal, or you're going to give a great discount. So selling is not about talking, it's about a conversation between two human people, human to human. The fourth myth is selling is all about features and functionalities. A lot of people also think that by being an expert and giving all your expertise towards a buyer, that they will buy. But it isn't. Every buyer has his specific needs and requirements and wishes for a product or a service, and the seller needs to find out what his wishes are. When you go to a doctor, the doctor is going to examine you, is going to ask you questions, and then he or she will say, I think you have this kind of disease. It's not like he's throwing a book of everything he learned and all the diseases towards your head. No, you don't. And it's the same with people, with experts who are so passionate about their product. They're going to tell everything about the functions, functionalities and features, and the buyer is bored. Or even worse, he or she is confused, and then certainly you will have no deal. So the seller creates value by only giving relevant information towards the buyer. The last and fifth myth, and hang on, because I have a bonus for you. Some people think that sellers can sell everything to anybody. I personally don't believe in that. Personally, when I don't believe or I am not passionate about a certain product or service, I will not sell it. I did it in the past and it didn't make me feel happy. I wasn't authentic, and people feel that. And so it's hard work in order to sell something. But whether you really believe in something and you create value and you're helping people and you're in it for the long term, because you're actually running a marathon instead of running the 100 meters, people feel that. And then selling is actually a flow experience. A second point to that is that you cannot have a good understanding or a click with everybody. Sometimes you meet people that, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and that's okay. You don't sell, you just move on to the next one. So these were the 5 myths. I thank you for your attention. Oh yes, I promised you a bonus. Sometimes people think selling the more is better. What this means is that they say selling is a numbers game. It's partially true, but it's not because you have everybody on your list that everybody is interested. I really believe in doing the necessary research of who we're going to target and who we're going to speak to. And it's really about finding the right persons, people who can be possibly interested in your product or service. So just making 100 calls or 100 visits or appointments with 100 people and then saying nothing is sold, I will add another 200. I really believe that you will not sell more. I really believe that you maybe target 30 persons because you have done your research up front, that you think these are possible candidates for your product or service in the target market you are after. And then wisely think about how you're going to contact with these people. In the book of Blount, of Fanatical Prospecting, when a person does not know your company, does not know your product, and has no window of when he or she wants to buy something, then you will need at least 50 points of contact in order to buy something. So 15 attempts to connect with that person. If you take that into the numbers game, you will only contact the person once and then you move to the next. It doesn't work. And this is for me a very important one. And it connects also with the same thing I just mentioned. You're in it for the long run. You're running a marathon. Thanks for watching. I'm really excited hearing about you, your opinions. If you like this video, click the like button and even better, subscribe. And I see you next time. Bye bye.